Hey, Foot Clan, today's show is brought to you by one of our very favorite apps, the Sports Manias app. Listen, you can import your fantasy team directly into the app. You get breaking news, scoring updates, fantasy points and milestones, alerts every time your player is in the red zone. This is the must-have app. You got to put it on your phone. It helps your fantasy team. So download the Sports Manias app today. Get your fantasy on with Sports Manias.
Welcome to the Fantasy Footballers Podcast with your hosts, Andy Holloway, Jason Moore, and Mike Wright.
It's Wednesday. It's right in the middle of the week.
Did you get your guys? Did you get your waiver claims?
Yes. Maybe. I don't know. We're busy recording a show. I haven't checked on my teams yet.
We're here for
I don't even know the results. This is an early show. I've checked none of them, actually, so we'll see. But we've got a good show for you today. It's Wednesday. It is October 14th. This is the Fantasy Footballers Podcast, and we are bringing it. We have a mailbag show today, but not just any mailbag show.
No.
Because you're not just any group of listeners. You're the Foot Clan, and you have great questions this week. You have your start-sit, trade questions, conundrums that can either lead to fantasy championships or lead to fantasy disaster, and we're here to help you win a title. So we're going to answer a ton of questions on the show today, but not just that. We have Seattle Seahawks running back
extraordinaire,
Fred Jackson.
Whoop whoop.
Fred Jackson's on the show today. We're asking him all about his role in Seattle, Marshawn Lynch, Thomas Rawls, and a number of other fantasy questions, that offensive line there. So don't miss this interview. This is a great interview today with Fred Jackson. So how are you guys doing?
I am doing.
Are you glowing?
Spectacular.
Yeah. You've got your baseball tee on. You are a baseball tee type of guy.
Absolutely, man. It's like right in the middle. Do I want a full sleeve? Do I want a regular short sleeve? Nope.
You want the three-quarter? Three-quarter. All right. Well, you know, if you want to follow us, we are on Instagram, so maybe we'll post a picture of the three-quarter bearded
I'll
Mike.
do that right now.
We'll see. All right, there you go. We are on Twitter at the FF Ballers. And if you have a question of your own and you want it answered on the show, or you want it answered quickly because you've got a decision to make, you can go to thefantasyfootballers.com, click the Submit a Question button, and send us your question. We will answer it. Mike is now selfieing, which honestly, this is probably it's a perfect microcosm of how you play fantasy football. It's just all about you.
That's not how you play.
Yeah, it is. But not with the same,
bravado.
You do. Yeah, bravado.
Well, that's because I bring it.
Yeah.
I bring the junk talk. I bring the smack talk. I bring the crack talk. I bring it all.
Wait, what is
crack?
What is the crack talk?
The cracks, like there's cracks in your team.
Sure.
I was thinking you were like hopped up on something.
Riding the snake. All right. I wish I had that drop on here. I was like, who hit the button?
Yeah.
But thank you, Jason.
Hold on,
all right, if you're still with us, let's go to the quick question of the day. You know, Mike's getting his selfie going.
Look at this smolder.
That's is that what that is? That's not blue steel?
It's all the same.
All right. Rest of season question. All right, I have two rest of season questions. So 2 questions. First of all, who would you select right now? Put him on your team. Start him the rest of the way. Todd Gurley, Eddie Lacy. Go.
Eddie Lacy. Oh. And the reason why is because although I love Gurley and love what I'm seeing, it's just offensive touchdown opportunities. I think the Green Bay Packers are going to score a lot more touchdowns than the St. Louis Rams. So for me, I go Eddie Lacy.
Oh, it's very, very tough for me. I think Gurley is the truth, and Lacy's workload has been concerning to this point.
Don't you get concerned that Gurley gets 30 carries and Lacy gets like 13 or something?
That's the problem. It's do you want volume
or a better team.
Offense?
That's rough.
So I'm going to stick with Lacy because he was right around this almost identical yardage between this year and last year, and then we know that he exploded. It's completely there for the taking for Lacy. I'm going to
split the difference, sort of. Yeah, because I'm going to cheat, and I'm going to say if I had Eddie Lacy, I would try to trade him for Gurley and get a little extra on the side.
Ah, okay. So it's Gurley plus equals
Because
Lacy.
I guess to answer the question legitimately then is I believe Gurley has the ability to put up the same numbers the rest of the way.
And I don't disagree with that at all. As far as ability, the opportunity
It's
and
scarier
chance
to
is there.
rely on him. I will admit that. It would be hard to make Gurley your number one. Just go after 2 weeks.
I think his baseline is higher than Eddie Lacy's baseline. Because of that workload, if he's getting 30 totes a game, then, if he doesn't get in, if he doesn't have a great game, he's probably going to put up more points than when Eddie Lacy has a week like last week.
It was interesting for me watching the Monday night game with Chargers and Melvin Gordon, Melvin Gordon was taking 3 or 5 spots after Gurley, and you're just watching, and it's very small sample size, but you're like, wow, Todd Gurley is very, very good compared to Melvin Gordon right now.
Yeah, Gordon is interesting because I think Gordon is going to be very good. And I think Gordon is adjusting to the NFL game because there were 5 or 6 plays, because he caught a lot of passes yesterday. There were 5 or 6 plays where he was a step too slow on his cut because I feel like he thought there were college players coming to tackle him. Like, you saw this. Right. Reggie Bush came into the league. Other guys come into the league. It's just kind of like not there yet. So I'm excited about the talent. I'm excited about how physical he is and how he can catch the passes out of the backfield. So not a lot of negative to say, but you're right. Right out of the gate, Gurley looks like – I mean, they know they're running. Everybody knows St. Louis is running, and he's still putting up big numbers.
Stack the box, and it won't matter.
Did you have something to add on Gordon, Jason?
Well, I saw what you saw, a lot of rookie mistakes, and he doesn't – with the rookie mistakes, he's not doing the dance thing. He's not dancing around too much. He's just not yet fully adjusted. And he was on the field a lot. He was on the field in 2-minute drill type situations for the first time that I've seen this year. I think he caught 7 passes or something like that. So
clearly the offensive line in San Diego is in shambles from injuries. But the Rams line is pretty close to equally bad right now. So that's why when you're seeing how well Todd Gurley's performing, it's
impressive.
Yes.
And, they obviously have committed to him right away, which I think we suspected, but it's good to see. So before we get into the mailbag and answer a bunch of listener questions, let's jump into it. Let's talk to Fred Jackson of the Seahawks.
You talking to me?
The fantasy footballers are thrilled to welcome in a favorite of our show, Fred Jackson of the Seattle Seahawks, to talk some fantasy insight and some smack-talking emojis. Good morning, Mr. Jackson. How are you doing?
Not too bad. How you guys doing?
Pretty good, pretty good. Are you used to hearing your name announced from the Seattle Seahawks yet? Is that comfortable?
It's getting there. It's definitely a little different, but it's something that I'm getting used to now.
Yeah, same for us on this side. So being new to Seattle, can you tell us some of the differences in culture between what you've seen on Seattle with the Seahawks and from Buffalo?
Well, I mean, Buffalo is just a smaller community, so it's more small market, and you see your fans, same fans day in and day out that you see coming to support you all the time because they show so much support. In Seattle, it's just a bigger market and, more fans. So the fans are more all over the place, and you don't get that more intimate, relationship that you have with the small fans in Buffalo.
Yeah. Are they on the F-Jacks train, the fans there? Are you getting love there?
I am getting some love here. It's something that I gotta come out and, make some more plays, and I'll get a little bit more, fan support from the fans.
For sure. We've you're really one of our favorite players here, have been for years. One of the things we love about you is that you always defy the expectations and overperform whatever the naysayers are saying. You're actually one of the only players, I don't know if you know this, from a fantasy football perspective, that has outperformed your fantasy value 3 consecutive years. What do you attribute to your ability to outperform what people's wrong expectations of you are?
I think more than anything is just believing in yourself and flying under the radar. If you don't do much or you're not a projected starter, people don't really see much value in you. So what you have to do is when you get out there and you know that you're going to have an opportunity to make some plays is go out and make those plays. Not only, running the ball. You got to be able to catch the ball as a running back and things like that. And I think when you do that, that's when you get your value up, and that's what I try and do and what I try to accomplish when I'm out on the field.
Yeah, is that how Seattle's wanting to use you, is in that pass-catching role specifically, more than just behind the line? What are you thinking?
I think so. I think one of the things that they really tried to establish me in is that third down back and catching balls out of the backfield and things like that. And when you have a guy like Marshawn, he's going to be fed the ball as much as he is, and then you got a guy like Thomas who's playing out of his mind right now. So for me, it's just about taking advantage of those opportunities when I am on the field on third down and catching balls out of the backfield.
Yeah, and how's your ankle feeling right now?
The ankle is good. I definitely got rolled up and it was a little sore, but, it's not something that I think is going to keep me off the field, and I just got to go out there and show the coaches that I can still compete at a high level with a little sore ankle.
Yeah. I think a lot of people were surprised to see you active this last week. Yet again, just overcoming the naysayers. You don't ever count Fred Jackson out.
That's just it.
So you as a veteran running back, you've seen a ton of running backs, good, bad, average. Give us some insight. Tell us what we really should expect from Thomas Rawls going forward this year and into the future. 1 week wonder, or has he got what it takes?
One of the things I like about Thomas is, his low center of gravity. And, he's a guy that's hard to tackle, and anytime you get a guy that's his size and has the strength that he has and has a low center of gravity like that, he's going to break a lot of tackles for you. So he's a lot of fun to watch. He's a guy that's hungry, went undrafted, relishing every, opportunity that he gets and taking full advantage of them. And I think he's a guy that's going to continue to have some success. And he's going to be a lot of fun to watch throughout the years. And I'm excited about what he brings to the table, and I think he will continue to play at the high level that he's playing at.
Yeah, we hope so as well. One of the things that a lot of people don't realize or remember, even ourselves, you played with Marshawn Lynch back in Buffalo, is that right?
That is correct.
So have you guys kept up a relationship? Is that part of what brought you back to Seattle, or is that just a coincidence that you run into each other down the road?
Well, I think it's a combination of both. When Marshawn left Buffalo to come out here, we stayed in constant contact. I would talk to him 2 or 3 times a week, the entire time that he was out here. And when I got released in Buffalo, Seattle was the first team to call and say that they were interested in me coming to play out here. Having that relationship that I had with Marshawn definitely played a vital part in me choosing to coming out to Seattle. And it's one thing. I think it's something that's worked out for both parties. I'm excited to be here, and I think they're excited about what I bring to the table. So
yeah, it seems like. Yeah, it seems like a perfect 1-2 punch. You come in on those third downs and help catch passes. So when Marshawn Lynch gets back here on the field, do you expect him to take completely over that first and second down work as he had?
I think you have to. He's a guy that you have to have on the field, and he's a tremendous weapon. And I think he's going to make us that much better once he gets back. Thomas is doing a tremendous job, and not to take anything away from him. But I think when you get Marshawn back, he has to play and take over that number 1 spot.
Yeah, for sure. So there's been a lot of noise made negatively about the offensive line in Seattle. Just some worries that we've seen through the year so far. What's your perspective from behind that line as to what needs to improve or what can improve, or what are you seeing behind that O-line?
Oh man, they'll definitely improve. It's one of the things you got guys that are just playing different positions, and they have to figure out how to gel with each other. And once that happens, you can see them. As a guy who's been a part of some offensive lines in the NFL, you see them collectively getting better. They'll be fine. I think once it's all said and done, they'll gel. Figure out what it is that they need to accomplish, and everything will take care of itself.
Yeah, beautiful. Do you have you ever played fantasy football yourself?
I have not played fantasy football, but everybody in my family does, including my wife. So, she has me on her fantasy team. My brother and all my closest family members have me on their fantasy team, so I'm completely up to date on what it is.
Yeah, fantastic. We one of the things that's great about fantasy, especially if you've got the friends and family type of leagues, is just that smack talking, or we chat with each other over different electronic means, and we have essentially gotten rid of words. We comment back and forth to each other on different medias with animated pictures and GIFs, and we hear there's a great emoji app coming out for that. Is that right?
There is. Toyota has done a tremendous job, knowing how we all are, with our emoticons. They've come out with an app of fan emojis, and it's one of those things where you can, definitely use it to gloat and talk some trash to some teammates. They have the perfect fan emojis for that, perfect fan emojis for when you, suffer a tough defeat, or, if a ref makes a bad call, they have the fan emojis that you need to put it out there, whether it's in a text message to some friends or out there on social media. They have the fan emojis that you need to communicate however it is you're feeling. So it's a lot of fun to be a part of, and a lot of fun to have the ability to do.
Yeah, our fans love that type of stuff. So that's the Toyota Fanmoji app. We will definitely be looking forward to talking smack and celebrating your touchdowns and bringing your wife and others to championship victory in fantasy football. Well, thank you very much. We appreciate you coming on. Maybe we can have you on when you have a 3-touchdown game in just a couple weeks. I feel it coming.
Hey, I appreciate that, and we'll definitely make sure that happens.
All right. Thanks, Fred Jackson. You have a wonderful day. Enjoy your practice this week, and give us the down low on Marshawn Lynch's health as it keeps going.
Yep, will do. You guys take it easy.
All right. Thanks again to Fred Jackson. Now, guys, do you know what you live in 90% of your life?
Cotton.
Well, maybe. You live in your underwear 90% of your life, and underwear
more like 80%.
I was
old.
going more like 99%.
Yeah,
Okay.
well, somewhere around 90%, you are in your underwear, and you know the feeling of putting on old, saggy, nasty underwear. You need, however, to know the feeling of great fitting underwear that MeUndies, our great sponsor MeUndies, says is 2 times softer than cotton. And I say, MeUndies, you need to redo your research, because I have worn them, and they are at least 2 million times softer than cotton. I am telling you guys, their underwear is not like other underwear, and it's really true. They've got all that. You go to their website, go to MeUndies.com, look at the research, and look at the material that they're using. They're also a very green company. They don't have a big CO2 carbon footprint. They care about the environment, but their underwear are as good.
They care about butts, too.
Yes, they do. They care about my butt. And it is as good as advertised. One of my favorite things.
We've got tweets about it.
Yeah, oh yeah, people are backing this. One of my favorite things, when you pull on your shorts over your underwear, you could just tell, like, they slide up. They are amazing. They are comfortable. The materials they use are sustainably sourced from the Australian Alps. Sounds amazing, but it's actually true. Also, MeUndies are not just for guys. Get your ladies some gifts. The quality would typically retail for twice as much. So here, I'll make it easy. Go to MeUndies.com/footballers, and you will get 20% off your first order and free shipping. Just make sure you get enough, because you will be unhappy every
day you don't have it on.
It's really true.
Hey,
Yeah, one of the tweets came in. They said, I bought this after listening to the guys talk about it, and it really is like sitting on a cloud.
Sit in a cloud.
Which is what Mike said last week. Hey, and you heard me talk about it at the very beginning of the show. Before we get into the mailbag, I want to remind everybody, pull your phone out, which it probably is already out as you're listening to us. This is a free app you have to download for your fantasy team. It is the Sports Manias app. It is a game changer for the diehard fantasy football fan. Listen, it was listed as a top 5 sports app in the country by USA Today. So we're not the only ones telling you to grab this app. And listen, you don't have to pay for it. It's free. It's a resource sitting right in your pocket. So you get personalized feeds from fantasy football experts. You get breaking news, scoring opportunities, fantasy points. Listen, they have a custom feed that is made for your team, so you know the latest news on your players. I mean, we're wondering about Julio on Thursday night. There's no better way to figure that out than to grab the Sports Manias app. Dominate your league with it. Sportsmania's the free app that turns players into champions. Sportsmania's, get your fantasy on.
The apps we mention on this show are truly part of winning in fantasy football. They give you an advantage over other people. It's not anything less than that. If you're not using the right apps, you're not going to be able to compete as much.
Yeah,
it's
and
really true.
don't download crappy apps.
Right.
Download good apps.
Yes.
And ones that they update all the time. That's the thing that's cool about them. They
No
update a
one
lot.
likes a crappy appy.
Yeah, exactly. Mike says that all the time. All right, let's get into the mailbag.
My motto.
Mailbag.
Nobody likes a crappy appy. But if you do, cover them with me. All right, never mind. Tony in Houston has a trade question. Ironic that this is the first one on my list. Okay, would he trade Matt Forte for Todd Gurley? So kind of a piggyback.
In a keeper league.
Yes. In a keeper league, I would do exactly what Andy said.
I would do it no matter what.
I would too, but I'm always trying to get, the most you can. In a keeper league, maybe you can get a little pick swap in your favor or something like that, or some guy coming back. But I would rather have Gurley going forward.
Do you agree, Mike?
Oh, yeah. Especially in a keeper league, you absolutely do this.
Are you going after Gurley in any of your leagues, trade-wise? Specifically ones I'm involved in?
No, I have not made any offers because I know what it will take to. I know what the owner will require.
Well, and
for
we're in
Gurley.
a keeper league too.
And he is correct because I have gone after him in 2 of our 3 main leagues, and I have been denied.
Yeah, well, there you go. All right, Joseph in Somewhere Over the Rainbow.
Oh no.
You can get my
Dang
album.
it.
It's
I
coming
wanted
out
to
soon.
just keep going.
Oh no.
Is that the jointhefoot.com reward that's coming up? Your album?
Yeah, my album.
Mike does a
dropping.
guitar ballad. Jason does a solo to some song we pick.
Yeah.
The Foot Clan picks a song. Jason sings it.
Let's move.
Mike
it
drops the
along here.
back. Oh no, I'm putting it together. All right. His question, Joseph. I got lost. Week 6 PPR league. C.J. Anderson, Ronnie Hillman.
Well, Ronnie Hillman tweaked his hamstring as we talked about yesterday, so that is a situation to monitor. The correct answer is neither. you burn the Broncos backfield to the ground, but if you have to go with one in PPR, even if both are playing, it's still C.J. Anderson. He's the one who's getting the catches.
You know what's frustrating about this running game?
Everything.
Everything. That is the correct answer. I can't help but think that the Noshawn Moreno days were so much better because of the fight of Moreno against this offensive line situation that's happening right now. You just don't see that. I don't know. My eyes tell me neither of these guys are fighting for the extra yard. I don't know. There's nothing going on there.
I think the league is much better when Noshawn is playing. It's sad that he's not around this year.
We used to have a segment called the Noshawn Moreno Smart Play of the Week because of how Moreno came out of nowhere and ran hard. He wasn't elite laterally. He wasn't elite speed. He just ran hard.
Man's
It's
got
like
heart.
Ahmad Bradshaw does.
He's got heart.
He does. All right, Ryan in Cleveland wants to know, with Vic and Antonio Brown seemingly not clicking, which I agree, 2 weeks, is it a safe bet to sit Antonio Brown
Whoa.
until Big Ben comes back?
No way. No way in the world would you sit.
But don't you
Antonio
normally sit the best receivers in the league?
No.
Well,
No, because look, even in his 2 bad games where he didn't perform, he still performed better than what you're normally going to have in your last option that then needs to come into the game. It's not like he was.
Yeah, but what if you're deciding between Larry Fitzgerald and Antonio Brown this week?
Well, sure. Okay.
Let me ask you, who would you start?
I would start Larry Fitzgerald over Antonio
well,
Brown.
ask about. So Ryan has John Brown or Willie Snead. The need for Snead.
Antonio Brown.
Yeah. Yes. 100%.
Without a question.
Who do the
You know what
Saints
you're
play?
going to feel like when you play Willie Snead and he puts up a 3 and Antonio Brown has a normal game?
Yeah.
You're going to feel like crap, Mike.
Antonio Brown can
I'm
run a
not saying
punt
that.
back for a touchdown. He didn't have that many targets, but he still had that one play where he broke it for 30 or 40 yards, this week. So Antonio Brown, he's too gifted of a player to sit for average guys.
And Big Ben will be back in a week or 2.
Well, yeah, it's either this week or it's either week 6 or week 8 because I believe they're
The
on
bye.
bye.
It was bye week 7.
Yeah.
All right, Brad in Arkansas. What didn't Jason pronounce that a while back? Or was
Something
it me that
about
mispronounced
Arkansas.
it? That's what it was.
Arkansas.
Arkansas. Oh, delicious.
Delicious.
Should I start Jonathan Stewart, Dante Moncrief or Thomas Rawls in Week 6 in my flex position. PPR.
Well, I'm going to go ahead and say that Marshawn Lynch will be back, so Rawls is relegated to the third back, in my opinion, so he would be out. Jonathan Stewart, I believe, has a terrible matchup against Seattle, and Andrew Luck should be back. So I am starting Dante Moncrief.
That's tough. I am just stuck between Stewart and Moncrief because my subconscious fantasy player says start the running back who gets the guaranteed workload.
No, your subconscious is telling you, I hate Dante Moncrief. I will never believe in Dante Moncrief.
Which is foolish and stupid, both.
Based on last game?
No, not based on last game when they had Matt Hasselbeck throwing the ball to Andre Johnson back in Houston.
All right. 90 yards for Moncrief. You want to make the bet?
No. 90? 90, that's like a wide receiver 1 numbers. We're not saying he's a wide receiver 1.
So give me a Moncrief bet because I just have to make it.
65.
Yards?
Moncrief?
Yeah.
No, let's just make it fantasy related.
Moncrief Jace do this question.
I'm not confident enough in Jonathan Stewart. Jonathan Stewart could lose this bet and Moncrief could score 2.
Yeah.
So top 24 in fantasy? You said that was 1 numbers. I'm giving you top 2?
I'll take it.
Oh, all right. There you go. You hopped in.
Waterbed.
Jason was figuring out how you could turn that 24 into like a top 5. All right. Kevin in Tulsa wants to know, would you start Lamar Miller or Antonio Andrews? And Kevin, before we answer this answer that question, but talk about Lamar Miller as a whole.
So Lamar Miller is a guy to me. I've been sitting on my bench in a couple different leagues. And
You've been sitting on your bench?
I have been sitting him on my bench.
How do you sit on your own bench?
So here's what the reality is about Lamar Miller. He's the number 1 running back for a team that should be good, who has been terrible. But not only have they been terrible, they've actually had a really bad run of matchups. I believe they played the Buffalo Bills back-to-back weeks with the Jets, and we knew that he was going to be bad. Plus, he wasn't used. So out goes Philbin, and in comes a new coach that wants to change things. There's only one way you could change something on the offense, and that's to not throw the ball every single time. Now, we don't know that that's going to happen. Bill Lazor is still the offensive coordinator. That didn't change, but I do expect Lamar Miller to get more involved this week. He's going up against the Tennessee Titans, which is, not the worst, but also not the best. And so I like Lamar Miller this week as probably an RB2.
I don't disagree with you at all, and I'm choosing to take the approach that Miller. People are going to go out and they spent a bunch of money on West,
on Charizard,
Charizard West or Davis, and you go spend the big money on Fab. But why wouldn't you be looking at the opportunity of Lamar Miller to improve if he's the guy?
Well, how about this then?
I'd rather have Lamar Miller than West.
I was just going to say, you pick up Charmander West and you trade him for Lamar Miller.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You have that shiny beacon of hope that rests on West's shoulders, and that is very far away from Miller at the moment.
Would you start Lamar Miller over Antonio Andrews?
Yes.
Andrews had no carries basically, but he
scored.
He caught a pass.
100%. That's not even close to me. Lamar Miller for sure over Antonio Andrews.
All right, so let's switch gears here. Ryan in Indianapolis has a question. He said, long story short, he has a very long-time league, okay? One of the newer managers is barely doing anything. He's not talking. He's barely replying. 1 trade all year. No fab money spent. He's been playing Alshon Jeffrey.
Oh.
Wait.
If you play...
What do you do with this guy?
You kick him out. That's what you do. I mean,
And they pay a lot of jelly beans to play in this league.
So here's exactly what you do. We've had, in some of our big, long leagues where we've got waiting lists to get guys in. Every now and then a guy comes in, and when he's new and he's not playing well, there's not much you can do. But when he's new and he's playing guys that aren't playing in the NFL games, that's where, you kind of do you're at 2 strikes. You do that again and you're out, and I would replace him.
Yeah.
Send in the car.
Send in the car.
You can't have somebody playing inactive players. It imbalances the whole league. It's not fair.
Yeah, whoever plays them every week gets a bye week.
It ruins the game, so you kick them out.
Yeah,
or you tell them you just send a message that says we're gonna kick you out if you keep screwing up. If they don't reply, they don't reply. But you at
See
least
ya.
That's the screw up.
yeah.
And that's why it's nice. I mean, it sounds funny, but we have a couple big leagues that we want. We have 2 or 3 people waiting to play. So if you have somebody else that wants to get in the league, it's not as easy as just kicking them out. You need to find somebody to fill the role. But yeah, or figure something out with managing that team. But yeah, I'd boot him. All right, so Ryan in Boston wants to know rest of season. Who would you rather have as a handcuff? Would you rather have Ryan Matthews or Thomas Rawls?
Ooh, that is a good one.
Rawls had a big week. We're talking probably 5 to 6 to 10 at the most weekly carries for Rawls, depending on game flow.
So assuming you have neither of their handcuffs.
No, I would assume you have
Well, if you've got
either situation. They're asking from a handcuff perspective.
No. I'm saying if you've got DeMarco Murray, then the more valuable guy to have is Ryan Matthews. If you've got Marshawn Lynch, the more valuable guy to have is Thomas Rawls. Assuming you don't have either of those guys, and we're just, I don't have either of those guys in any of my leagues, but I want both of these guys, Ryan Matthews and Thomas Rawls. Who do I want more? Probably Ryan Matthews, because Ryan Matthews is, in my opinion, able to get production when DeMarco Murray plays. And I don't think Thomas Rawls is going to get production when Marshawn Lynch plays, but I do expect Marshawn Lynch to miss more games. So
It's
close.
absolutely Ryan Matthews for me. I saw a blurb of the coaching staff saying that they basically see DeMarco and Ryan Matthews as the same guy, and they're very interchangeable, so to speak. So Ryan Matthews will get production weekly. DeMarco is the preferred Philadelphia running back. I'm not saying that Matthews is taking the job, but I'm just saying that he's going to be involved weekly.
It's interesting, though, because, the question is who's the most valuable handcuff? And you have a guy with a pre-existing injury, and neither of you guys chose the handcuff to the guy with the injury that's missed multiple games.
Well,
That's what made it curious to me.
I will say this. On the opposite side, if you have both of them, and therefore both of these guys are actually handcuffs on your roster and you can't have both, then I would rather have Thomas Rawls. I thought he was just using handcuff as a description for what those two guys
For
are.
backup running back.
Not necessarily that I've got the starter of these guys and they are the handcuff.
All right, so we've talked about Gurley on the show quite a bit today. Mike in New York wants to know, he has Gurley on bye. Okay, so Gurley's on bye this week. The Rams are on bye. He needs an RB2 to play in his place. Would it be C.J. Anderson, Ronnie Hillman, or Jeremy Hill this week? It's a PPR league.
Oh, man.
Because, Mike.
Answer this question because I have to do the exact same thing.
I would go C.J. Anderson. With Hillman's hamstring tweaked, you've got the opportunity there for C.J. Anderson yet again. Jeremy Hill has not been doing anything more than C.J. Anderson other than those few goal lines, which could go either way. So for me, I would rather, especially in a PPR where he's going to catch maybe 2 or 3. If Hillman's out 4, maybe 5 balls, even if he doesn't do anything with them, there are more points. How many catches is Jeremy Hill going to have?
0, 1, maybe. I don't know.
I am not excited about either this week in any way. So I think I will side with the Anderson side because of the matchup with the Browns versus the Bills. But, it just I think Hill's chance of scoring a touchdown is much higher. So that's a tough one for sure. Let's talk trade for a second. Javier in Mexico City. Should I trade Adrian Peterson and Alshon Jeffrey for Eddie Lacy and Julio Jones?
Ooh.
He is a desperate 1-4 team. If you're desperate.
Yeah. So here's the thing with Alshon Jeffrey, and this is just me hypothesizing. The Bears are on bye next week. It would not shock me to see Alshon Jeffrey sit again and give him 3 more weeks to rest and come back 100%. That's not information I'm hearing. That's just kind of an educated guess of what could happen.
That makes sense. But by the same what you're hearing, just logic argument, you could say that Julio Jones should sit because it's a Thursday game and it's going to be early.
Yeah, but he can play. I don't know. I don't think Julio Jones will sit. I don't know how effective he will be, but just moving. And I'm saying that because Alshon, then you're guaranteed if he sits that's 2 more weeks you don't have Alshon, or maybe he plays this week and then he's on bye next week. When is the Falcons bye?
I do not. That's one of the things that is not readily on my
Readily available, but
I'll get that.
in general, if everybody's healthy, I want the
Falcons have a Week 10 bye.
Yeah, I would.
So, Jason, would you do that trade?
I'm taking Lacy and Julio.
Yeah, I think I would do Lacy and Julio. I am not super high on Alshon's prospects at the moment, and Julio is maybe the best wide receiver that you could have. And Eddie Lacy, I fully expect to bounce back, and he's going to be fine. Would I rather
no
have
concerns about Lacy, or what about long-term concerns about Julio with fighting this injury?
That's fair, but I've got the same long-term concerns about Alshon Jeffrey. He comes back and tweaks it again. I mean, he sat out 3 or 4 weeks preseason, came back and tweaked it again. So who's to say that doesn't happen again? So no more so than Alshon.
All right, Joe in New York City.
New York City.
Thank you. Should he drop – this is Cardinals running back situation, so I'd love to get your perspective on it as a whole. But should he drop Chris Johnson or Andre Ellington? Should he keep both?
Keep both.
You can't drop.
And then if you have both, who do you start?
Chris Johnson.
In a PPR?
Chris Johnson.
Okay.
You start Chris Johnson. I would hold on to Ellington or move him. If you are considering drop him, just trade him away for peanuts. Just something that is decent to have on your bench, because you're probably going to find a better player in a trade than you're going to find on the waiver wire, unless you're grabbing Charmander.
No, I know that running back situation, as we saw this past week, is a little unpredictable too. You got Dave. You know, if Chris Johnson gets the goal line there, all of a sudden he's a
right. Well, I
mean,
think David Johnson gets the goal line.
No, I know. I'm saying, but from week to week, there's going to be, if the score comes from 5 yards and out, it might be Chris Johnson. If it comes from 50 and out, it might be Ellington. I mean, you just it's too hard to predict.
And Ellington has never. And the way he was used when he had great success his rookie year, he wasn't used like Chris Johnson is being used right now. They haven't had this kind of running success in Arizona. I can't even recall the last time they ran the ball like this. There's no way they can sit Chris Johnson down.
The backfield there, obviously the success is different, but it reminds me of how muddy the water was in New York last year, where you had Ivory and Chris Johnson and Bilal Powell, and you just didn't know week to week. I mean, you could roll one out there and get lucky, but it's tough. So, all right, that is it for today's Mailbag show. I'm looking forward to week 6.
Yeah, it should be.
Yeah, I'm indifferent.
I've got high expectations. I'm looking forward to the Thursday night game. I think it's going to be closer than people think it will be.
Uh-oh.
It's in New Orleans.
Yeah.
It's a divisional game. There have been many surprises in those situations, so I'm not.
Are you calling maybe an Andy's almost upset of the week?
It's a little premature for that.
Yeah, we'll wait and see.
We'll
talk about it on Thursday. It really was. So, but yeah, thank you for listening to the show. Hopefully, we answered some questions. You enjoyed Fred Jackson. Thanks again for having him on the show. Check out the Sports Manias app, and we will be back here Thursday and Friday previewing the weekend games.
I got the need for sneeze.
Thank you for listening to another edition of the Fantasy Footballers Podcast. Don't forget to visit us on the web at www.thefantasyfootballers.com and follow us on Twitter at the FF Ballers.